What do you consider to be the biggest developments that are going on in the Caribbean at the moment? What are the things that, when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking positively about in the Caribbean?
I'm thinking about the wake-up call that the Caribbean has had over the last 3 years, with the need to be value-oriented, the need to be sustainable in our tourism strategy, and the need to be globally competitive. The Caribbean has a tendency to take all the wonderful things about the Caribbean for granted. The recession has been teaching us that we have to work harder, we have to work smarter, we have to do more with less, and we can then continue to be the most exciting warm weather destination in the world.
Has APD started to affect your business in any way? Do you find that people are starting to modify their travel behaviour because of it?
Well, definitely it's affected booking trends, but I think unfortunately APD is just one of the increased costs that goes towards the flight nowadays. So yeah, APD is having an effect, but in conjunction with everything else, fuel surcharges and various other things, the prices have really risen, and that's, it's the overall cost that's really affecting passenger numbers.
APD, when it first came in, was talked about a green tax. It's now no longer been talked about a green tax. Since it's come in, it's gone up 360%. If you look at the changes in April, it's gone up twice the rate of inflation since April this year. So, I mean, to me, it just needs to be looked at. It's not really appropriate for the business of tourism. Prices have gone up as a consequence of APD, and that is impacting demand, and that's impacting demand not just in leisure for the UK but also for business. It's becoming expensive to do business in the UK, and it needs to be addressed. And therefore I'm really looking forward to seeing some further action, and Willie has been very outspoken about it, and long may he continue to be.
Governments have looked to the tourism sector to find revenues for funding social safety net programs and so on. But governments have to understand that there is a point beyond which it becomes counterproductive, a point beyond which taxation doesn't make sense, and that it could in fact hurt economic growth. And that is why we've been so insistent that the APD is one such tax. We think it's a tax that's gone too far. We see some worrying trends elsewhere, but nothing matches the APD in terms of its overall negative impact on long-haul travel.
I think that we really ought to ask Britain to find a more equitable way of determining how they tax the people coming to the Caribbean. And I can say this publicly because I have in fact raised it with officers who I have spoken to since I have come here, that determining that the tax is charged according to where your capital is really unfair. If it is in fact a kind of tax that relates to air travel, why not determine it on the distance that one has to travel rather than on where your capital is?
Interregional travel, one of the big things that you always hear about Caribbean is that you get there, and if you want to go to a smaller island, then the problems of getting there are difficult. Does any of that come into what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And if you're asking me if is that a bigger problem than APD, I'd say it absolutely is. It's long been a problem, and the lack of reliable, consistent, quality inter-island service is a huge headache for companies like ours, who specialise in the Caribbean. And frankly, it needn't be.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot. The final question: medal count for Jamaica?
Oh, don't ask me that. As High Commissioner, I have been at pains to point out that we recognize that there are other countries in the Olympics. Privately, I can tell you, privately I have my own hopes, but I can tell you what people are saying.
What are people saying on the street?
On the street, they're saying that on the 5th of August, we will get 1, 2, and 3. And on the 6th of August, which is the 50th anniversary of our independence, the Jamaican anthem will play 3 times.